In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The 99 Beautiful Names of God in Islam, by Imam Al-Ghazali. Al-Qahhar, the dominating one. Al-Qahhar is the one who breaks the backs of his powerful enemies. He dominates them by killing and humiliating them. Everything in existence is subjected to his dominance and power and is helpless in his grasp. An admonition. The dominating one among men is the one who dominates his enemies. Man's greatest enemy is man himself, that is to say, his own inner being. In fact, he is even a greater enemy than Satan who deceived him. When man has dominated his own carnal appetites, he has actually dominated Satan. For Satan would like nothing better than to hand man over to destruction through the means of his carnal appetites. And one of his snares is women. It is impossible to imagine that one who has no desire for women could be caught in this snare. This also applies to the one who has gained dominion over this desire by the authority of religion and the counsel of reason. To the extent that one dominates his carnal desires, he has dominated all of mankind, and then surely no one dominates him. The aim of his enemies is their effort to destroy his body. But the purpose of dominating one's carnal desires is nothing less than the revival of his spirit. The one who puts to death his desire during his life will live after his death. Think not of those who are slain in the way of God as dead. Nay, they are living. With their Lord they have provision. Al-Wahhab, the one who gives freely without thoughts of compensation. A gift is a present that is free from thoughts of compensation and other selfish interests. The one who gives many gifts of this nature is known as a generous giver. Generosity, gifts and presents of this kind are truly inconceivable except from God Most High, for He is the one who gives every needy person that which he needs, and He does this not with thoughts of compensation or other selfish interests either now or later. The one whose giving is motivated by selfish interests, believing that sooner or later his gift will earn for him commendation, praise, friendship, or the avoidance of censure, or that by it he will acquire honor and a good reputation. In reality, such a person is a traitor. Real giving and generosity are non-existent as far as he is concerned. His total purpose is not always a special object which he hopes to attain. Rather is it anything not yet acquired which the giver intends to acquire by his giving. Therefore it is a compensation. The one who gives and is generous so that he might be honored or praised or not be criticized for his failure to give is a traitor. On the other hand, however, the truly generous person is the one from whom blessings pour forth upon the one who derives benefit from them, and certainly his intention is not that they be returned to him. Indeed, the person who does something in order to escape the blame for not doing it is one who frees himself from possible censure, and that also is an aim and a compensation. An admonition. In the pure sense of the word, generosity and gifts cannot exist in man, for if the performance of a given deed were not more important to him than its non-performance, he would not take initiative in the matter. Therefore, his performance of it is for his own purposes. But the person who freely spends everything he possesses, including his very life, for the sake of God Most High, though not for the purpose of achieving the blessings of paradise or protection from the punishment of hell or for anything considered desirable now or later of the human portions, certainly such a one is considered worthy of being called a giver and a generous person. Below him, in rank, is the one who has been liberal in order that he might attain the blessings of paradise. And below him is the one who has been liberal in order that he might attain a good reputation. Everyone who has sought to receive some kind of compensation is called a liberal person by the one who believes that compensations consist only of material things. If you were to say, that person who is generous with all that he possesses for the sake of God alone, and is completely free from the anticipation of his own portion either now or later, how then is he not generous since the man has no portion at all? We would reply, this man's portion is God Most High, pleasing Him, meeting Him, and attaining to Him. That is the greatest happiness which man can possibly achieve by his voluntary actions. It is that portion in comparison with which all others are to be disdained. You may ask, what is the meaning of their teaching that the one who knows God is the one who serves God for the sake of God alone and not for anything else besides Him? If no action of man is free from the desire for a portion, what is the difference between the one who serves God purely for the sake of God and the one who serves Him for some portion? My answer to this would be, certainly, You must know that the portion is an expression for the totality of purposes known among men. The one who is untouched by these has no other objective except God Most High himself. Therefore one says that he is absolved from the suspicion of seeking portions. That is to say, he is absolved from that which people mean by a portion. Thus people say that the servant shows regard for his master not for the master's sake, but for the portion he might receive from the master in terms of blessings and gifts. And the master shows regard for his servant not for the sake of the servant but for the sake of the service that he might receive from him. As far as the father is concerned, he shows regard for his son for the lad's own sake and not because of the portion he might receive from him. Indeed, even if there is to be no portion from him at all, he will continue to show regard for him. The one who seeks an object not for the sake of the object itself but with another purpose in mind is like the one who, actually, does not seek it at all. The ultimate intention of such a one is not to seek the object in question, but rather something else. This is the case, for example, of the one who seeks for gold. He does not seek it for its own sake, but rather that he might purchase clothing and food with it. And even these two objects are not desired for their own sake, but rather that by means of them, he might achieve pleasure and the avoidance of pain. But pleasure is desired for itself and not for any other purpose beyond it, as is also true of the avoidance of pain. Therefore gold is the means by which one obtains food, and food is the means by which one obtains pleasure. Pleasure is the ultimate goal, and it is not the means to something else. Similarly, the child is not merely a means in respect of the father. Rather, the well-being of the child is sought for the sake of the child, because the child itself is the father's portion. The same holds true for the one who serves God in order that he might gain paradise. God Most High has made it, i.e., the desire for paradise, the means of this search and has not made it the end of his search. The distinguishing mark of any means lies in the fact that if the end is achieved without it, then one need not seek it. Precisely the same situation would exist if one's ends were achieved without gold, for then one would neither desire nor seek it. This being the case, that which is really desired is the end sought and not the gold. If one who serves God for the sake of paradise could attain it without serving God, then he would not serve God. That which he truly desires and seeks is paradise and nothing else. As for the one who desires nothing but God and seeks nothing but him, the one whose portion lies in the anticipated joy of meeting God and being near to him, and his association with the heavenly host of angels who are near his presence. Certainly, one says of such a person that he serves God for the sake of God, not in the sense that he seeks no portion but rather in the sense that God Most High is his portion, and in addition to him he seeks no portion at all. He who does not believe in the joy of the magnificence of meeting God, knowing and seeing him and being near to him, is no really one who yearns for him. Furthermore, if one does not yearn for God, it is quite inconceivable that the hope of meeting God, knowing and seeing him and being near to him, was high goal at all. Therefore his service of God is no better than that of the evil hireling who works only for the fee he hopes to receive. The majority of people have never tasted this joy and, therefore, do not know it and do not understand the rapture of gazing into the face of God. They believe in this rapture only in respect verbal expressions. As far as their inner being is concerned, it much more attracted to the anticipated pleasure of meeting the black-eyed ones, i.e., the virgins of paradise, and they are believers in this only. You must understand from this that it is quite impossible to be free from the portions altogether if you admit the fact that God Most High exists. That is to say, meeting and being near to him is a part of that which is called a portion. On the other hand, however, if by a portion you refer to that which the common people believe and towards which they incline, you must know that it is not this portion, i.e., God. But if the portion is an expression of that whose attaining is more important than the failure to attain it, in the case of man, then it is a portion. Al-Razzaq, the one who provides all sustenance. He is the one who created the means of sustenance and those who need them. The purpose of the former is to satisfy the latter. Al-Razzaq also created for them the causes of enjoying this sustenance. Actually, there are two kinds of sustenance. One is manifest sustenance, and it consists of nourishment and food. These exist for that which is manifest, namely the physical bodies. The other is hidden sustenance, consisting of various types of knowledge and disclosures. These exist for human hearts and human beings. The latter is the more noble of the two kinds of sustenance, for the fruit of it is eternal life. The fruit of the manifest sustenance is strength for the human body for a limited period of time. God himself is the one who has assumed the responsibility for the creation of both types of sustenance, and he graciously makes them available to both categories, that is to say, human ODs and hearts. But he grants it amply to whom he will and measures it to another. An admonition: the utmost that man can hope to achieve of this characterization are the following two possibilities. The first is that he recognizes the real nature of this characterization and that no one really deserves it except God Most High. He does not expect the sustenance except from him and relies only upon him in respect of it, even as it has been reported from Hatim al-Assam. A man asked him, "From what source do you eat?" He replied, "From God's treasury." The man went on to ask, "Does God throw bread down to you from heaven?" Hatim answered, "If the earth did not belong to God, then certainly God would throw it down from heaven." The man continued, "But you people play with words." To this, Hatim answered, "Nothing has ever come down from heaven except the word." The man said, "I am not strong enough to argue with you." Hatim replied, "That is because falsehood does not exist with truth." The second possibility that man can hope to achieve in respect of this characterization is that God might give him knowledge to guide others, a tongue that is able to direct and teach, and a hand capable of giving alms. Such a person becomes a channel for bringing noble sustenance to men's hearts through his words and actions. When God Most High loves a man, he makes many people dependent upon him. Whenever a man is an intermediary between God and man in respect of supplying their sustenance, he achieves a portion of this attribute. The Prophet said, "May peace be upon him, certainly the faithful treasurer who carries out." One may possibly say who gives that which he is ordered to do, gives all that is expected of him, does this plentifully and in good spirits, and who gives it to the man to whom he is ordered to give it, he also is one of those who give alms. The hands of man are God's treasures. The one whose hand is made a treasury of the sustenance for human bodies, and whose tongue becomes a treasury of the sustenance of human hearts. How distinguished will be the rewards of one characterized in this manner. All praise and thanks be to Allah.